Jump on in, everybody. The water's warm. We're all recovering together from overindulgence. Welcome to Fantasy NBA Today podcast, a sports ethos presentation hosted by yours truly, Aaron Bruski, and FSWA Hall of Famer Steve, Dr. A. Alexander. Welcome to our viewers on Twitter and YouTube. And before you guys get settled in, please do us a huge favor and go to wherever you're listening to this podcast and subscribe, whether that's on the pod side and your favorite pod player. Hit that subscription button because we're doing special shows via the pod that you won't get live here on YouTube. And if you're watching live on YouTube, hit the thumbs up button and hit that subscribe button. It helps us out greatly, and thank you so much. Quick notes on the schedule. We're doing 2 shows a day. We got Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays live here, as you're seeing right now, at around noon Eastern time. Me and Doc, some combination of us, and then Doc and Rick Kamla, inventor of fantasy basketball, Rick Kamla, on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, except for last night. They had the night off for Thanksgiving, and they're doing Sports Ethos After Dark right around midnight Eastern time. And we have some special segments floating around here with guys like Mark Camaro and Panda, so you guys can get covered on just about everything from Dynasty to buy low, sell highs, the week ahead, and fun stuff like that. With that out of the way, let's say hi to our sponsor. This Thanksgiving holiday, why not head to the world's most trusted betting platform, your number one source for online betting, BetOnline. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with constant real-time odds and action, the ability to watch the games as they happen with the largest selection of odds on everything from football to NBA and college basketball, NHL to UFC and boxing. Head to the website today to see why BetOnline is America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, the game starts here. Doc, how you doing, man? How's Thanksgiving?
It was good.
We haven't had a chance to talk this morning.
It was good. I'm full. Yeah. I'm full. I got some sleep. I'm here.
What was your favorite side that you had?
The mashed potatoes. Mashed potatoes.
Nice.
My wife makes good mashed potatoes.
Mine was the Manhattan. We had a restaurant Thanksgiving in Sonoma, of all places. Oh. It was okay. But I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. You got to spend lots of time with family. You got to argue with those family members that frustrate you, and then have fun with the ones that don't, and spend time with lots of kiddos and all that good stuff. We got a lot of action to cover. We're going to cover, I believe, 28 or 30 teams. I can't remember. There's a long list of teams. We're all prepped up here to go. So we're going to start right away with the game that's going on right now. It's New York at Charlotte. This game is underway, so hopefully you guys got your lineup set. It's not too tough of a puzzle to crack. I mean, you got New York with everybody doing well except for Mikal Bridges. You got Cat top 5, Josh Hart top 20, OG top 30. Jalen Brunson recovering his value a little bit over the last couple of weeks. He's up into the top 40 range right now. And then on the Charlotte side, you got Bridges out. LaMelo Ball is out for this game with some calf issue. Always, we're wondering around Thanksgiving whether it's the night before or the night after. There's something a little extra going on with the injury report. Who knows? So we'll just kind of wait and see how that plays out. Nick Richards not back yet. Mark Williams not back yet. Trey Mann back. I know what I'm watching for, but you got anything in this game that you're watching for as it's going on right now?
Not really. Brandon Miller, who's been on fire and who is going to have a great year, is 1 of 9 for 2 points. So
already
he is tanking his owner's field goal percentage as we speak.
That's
Charlotte's up by 6.
1 of 9, and it's 9:41 a.m. on the West Coast. That's great. Great work, Brandon. I'll be watching for Cody Martin to see if he can put something together. It's not pretty in a lot of categories, but he's got 3.5 defensive stats per game over the last 4 games. So that's what you're there for, is that he can kind of contribute across the board. So that's the one and only thing I'll be watching for in this game. Later on today, we got Cleveland at Atlanta. Another sort of going to kind of ease into the fantasy action here today, because Cleveland's not exactly a puzzle. I know I'm watching Ty Jerome left and right these days. He's been a top 40 guy over the last 6 games. Karis LeVert is questionable in this one. Dean Wade's probably out. Anything on the Cleveland side or the Atlanta side while we're at it, Doc, that you're trying to figure out today?
Ty Jerome has been amazing. I want to kind of see him keep it going, which he should be able to against the Hawks' shaky defense. And then Trae Young, game time decision. Hopefully he's going to play.
Some quick news that it's actually not too recent, but Joel Embiid is out in this one. Doc's words were shocker. Swelling in his left knee has gone down, but otherwise continues to have some soreness. There's actually a little bit of a silver lining in that report. If the swelling has indeed gone down, Paul George is looking like he's back in about a week. Ballpark, they're hurting in Philly. Caleb Martin, both he and George practiced fully. So who knows? Maybe Paul can come back faster. Tobias Harris participated in shoot around today, so that's good. That probably implies that Cade Cunningham did not, because I'm sure we would have heard about that. Lonzo Ball will play 15 to 16 minutes today. It's a nice tight band, 15 to 16. On the Atlanta side, as I just sort of interrupted our game preview here, Trae Young probable. I'm just watching Dyson Daniels at this point. I don't know. What about you, Doc, for Atlanta?
Yeah, I want to see if Dyson can keep holding off DeAndre Hunter and Bogey, because Bogey and DeAndre Hunter are both playing well. And if they keep doing that, it's going to squeeze Dyson Daniels, at least in the points. But really, if Daniels keeps playing defense, I don't know that it'll matter that much. If he keeps getting the steals, he's going to be okay.
This is a little inside baseball, but like the last 3 games, he's hit 35.9% of his shots. So that's not great. And it's affected his scoring, and it's just, it's dropped his field goal percentage. So that's affected his value. But he's still a top 55 guy in 9-cat formats, which he's better in because he has just 0.7 turnovers over the last 3 games. But over the last 3 games, when the shooting's not good and these guys are starting to kind of creep back up and in, he's still a top 55 guy. So maybe that's, a good barometer of what we should value him going forward as a top 50 guy. But just a fascinating development to see him go up to top 20 on the season, and not a lot in his way. So Dyson Daniels, hot topic in fantasy leagues. Let's move it forward to New Orleans at Memphis. This is really on the New Orleans side. I mean, you got Brandon Ingram questionable, Trey Murphy questionable with the knee. Herbert will be back soon. CJ McCollum's back. Elfrid Payton clinging to life in fantasy leagues. Brandon Boston, top 125 on the season and a bunch of minutes, 29 per game. Yves Missi. I mean, it's a mess here. Yves is just inside the top 200. What are we doing with New Orleans? Like, what's the focus for you when you look at New Orleans and trying to figure out what they're all about right now?
I don't really have a focus.
Is it a lack of focus because it's such a mess?
I'll play Yves Missi in a deeper league. I'm done. I think I'm done with Brandon Boston. I'm not messing with Elfrid Payton. I'm not messing with Jordan Hawkins. That's about all I know. I don't love Brandon Ingram.
No, it's Trey Murphy. I would like to see Trey start playing in consecutive games, but I understand why he's not.
Does Zion Williams still play for the
I don't think he's in the league anymore. Somebody would have to prove otherwise for me to think otherwise. I really have a hard time talking about New Orleans these days, but maybe something will shake up and they'll actually turn into a good fantasy squad. The questionable for Brandon Ingram is really interesting. Just if there is any movement for him on the trade market. I know December 15th gets a little oversold and it's about 16 days away. That could be what's up with that. I don't want to put on too much tinfoil because he's probably just hurt. That's what the story usually is with him. Hey, let's get out of New Orleans. Let's talk about the Memphis side. Yeah, Ja Morant is probable. So that's good news for folks that have been struggling through more injury drama with Ja Morant to start the season. Zach Edey's about a week away. The rest of the team, though, is just loaded with fantasy names. What's your favorite of the rest of the bunch?
Well, I want to see Desmond Bane kick it back into gear. Like, he's been underwhelming this year, and he's a better player than that. Jaren Jackson Jr., I think, has been pretty solid. And anytime Ja Morant plays, I mean, Scottie Pippen kind of goes away, and that stinks.
Yeah, I'm not going to drop Scottie Pippen with Morant back, and I'm not going to drop Scottie Pippen all year. But I get it, like the touches, the minutes, the key for him, if you're just playing that game where you're on my side of the line with it, is just watching to see if he's getting the steals and the blocks and the free throw percentages in a decent place. So he could get you a couple threes. That's what he's tended to do, but that's certainly going to be kind of up for debate on a night-to-night basis going forward. We'll see if he can hold on. Jay Huff is one of my favorites. Jake LaRavia is one of my favorites. Marcus Smart went off a little bit in his last game. Are you buying into that at all?
No.
Not at all.
I love LaRavia, though.
LaRavia just keeps getting it done. He's been a top 75 guy for a while now, and just sort of navigating that storm. And then Santi Aldama as well, just kind of cruising through, getting it done. I think their big man combinations are locked and loaded, and that's been great for Jaren Jackson, who's been a top 20 guy this season, just doing what we all wanted him to do last year, which is focus on defense and be efficient. It's moving into Orlando at Brooklyn. Wendell Carter Jr. got 18 minutes and started next to Goga last game, who got 25 minutes. And Goga was good. Wagner had a decent game. What are you doing with the big men in Orlando?
Well, I was glad to see Goga not take a hit with the return of Wendell Carter. So hang in there with Goga until Paulo Banchero's back, I guess. I kind of thought Batazzi might go away with Wendell back, but it didn't happen. And Franz Wagner, just great season.
Oh, he's crushing it, and probably a sell high, but it doesn't feel right to do it. Goga, I think you always got to keep him one extra game after Carter Jr. comes back. It's if possible, it'll be a bunch of zeros. That's kind of what's happened in the past. But this time, if they decide to trot that out there for whatever reason, again, and they've decided to open up, they got 3 decent big men, and one of them hasn't been playing, and it's not exactly optimal. Maybe they cut and they keep it up. Now, on the other side, Jonathan Isaac has been playing. He's been somewhat healthy. He had a steal and 3 blocks and 6 boards in 22 minutes, so not a bonkers game. He's in the mix. Feel free. I'll ask you a question about Jalen Suggs right now, but if you want to say something about Isaac, feel free. Suggs had 31 points in the last one, 7 assists, 4 threes on 10 of 18 shooting. So he kind of got it back going. He even went 7 of 7 from the foul line. No defensive stats, but that's okay. We just wanted to see the shooting come back. He was about top 75 on the season before that line. How do you feel about Suggs going forward? Do you think it's time to lean back in, or is this just sort of maybe the baseline for him, top 75?
I think he's going to be a top 75 guy. And I think he's going to have good nights. I think he's going to have some off nights. But generally speaking, I really like Jalen Suggs. I know Cam loves Jalen Suggs. And I think everybody who owns Jalen Suggs loves him after that 31-point game.
Yeah, I think you're happier rather than unhappy with him in the roster. Now on the Brooklyn side, I think the mess might be upon us. You got Cam Thomas out a couple weeks. I know that hurts you. Basically, like the whole damn team is questionable. Cam Johnson's questionable, right ankle. He's been a top 40 guy.
DFS, Claxton.
Yeah. I'm just looking at my notes here that are on the whatchamacallit, the dictation system. Dennis Schroeder. It's written as Danish Router. Dennis Schroeder, personal out top 60. I knew that was going to happen on air. I can't stop that. Clowney out over a week. Jalen Wilson, questionable. He was a guy that you kind of looked at as possibly somebody who could raise up and soak up some of these minutes. Now he's questionable. Ben Simmons had a good stat line in the last one, and then he got caught making fun of people for missing layups, and everybody had a blast with that. And then Brooklyn won this last game against Phoenix on the road. So they caught a Thanksgiving letdown spot. And then we had Martin go off for 30 points, 8 triples, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. And I don't know. What are you doing with that? Like, that was out of nowhere. Is that Tyrese Martin?
Tyrese Martin, yeah.
Yeah.
I actually tried to pick him up. I think I did pick him up in a deeper league. That was exciting. And Jalen Wilson is getting minutes for this team. And with
Watford's getting minutes.
Trendon Watford's been playing well. And then with my guy Cam Thomas and Dennis Schroeder out, I think we're going to have a Ben Simmons game today.
Another?
Yeah, I think it's going to be. I think he's going to have a good game. If there was ever a day to throw Ben Simmons into a DFS, it's today. And then Zaire Williams is another guy that I'm rostering in a couple places because I feel like he's going to play a ton of minutes.
Yeah, I don't know where you go with this. I thought as Martin's comments is like, they know me now after his big night that nobody knew him. Kevin Durant's like, we didn't even know who he was. I don't know where I would go with this one. I mean, like betting on Martin to go twice in a row, that kind of feels like a fun bet. I don't know that I want to bet the Ben Simmons bet, but if there's ever a time for Ben Simmons to be taken seriously, it's on the 2 nights before and after the night that makes nobody take those 2 nights seriously, Thanksgiving. This is Fantasy NBA Today, presented by Bet Online. We are going through games that are going to occur tonight. We'll go through some Saturday games. We'll go through some Sunday games. We'll basically cover the entire league. We got Trae Young. I just hit the radar. Achilles available to play today. So that's fun. We're into the Clippers at Minnesota. So this is a little bit of an easy fantasy game for folks. Norm Powell finally questionable. So you should be happy there with his hamstring. And then Ant Edwards lit up his team. And I can't help but think he's talking about Julius Randle. And that is dramatic and interesting. Randle got handled by Jay Crowder, who just got signed and given his uniform that minute, probably before the game. So the Minnesota Timberwolves lost in a game of teams that really needed a win. And things are tumbling in Minnesota. So what do you think about this game here tonight? Either side.
Well, my son looked up at me at the Thanksgiving table last night, and I had a tear running down my cheek. He's like, "Dad, what's wrong?" And I was like, "Norm Powell and Cam Thomas." Son, Norm Powell and Cam Thomas are making me cry. I think Norm Powell was questionable last game too, and he didn't play. He's got to play tonight, man. I need him back so bad. I'm dying in 30 deep. It's a long story. I'm not going to get into it, but I need him to play. I've got Miles Bridges in my lineup.
So when everybody went around the table saying what they were grateful for, you said you were grateful for the Los Angeles Clippers training staff.
No, I actually said I'm grateful to be alive, but that's another story. That's another story as well. I'm grateful that my voice is coming back a little bit, but
every week, man.
This Anthony Edwards thing is so great. He's like a bunch of soft bleeps.
I love it.
High school kids run around out here, like can't even talk to each other, like a bunch of little kids. Like he's so pissed. And
he's
it's
the man.
awesome.
I love that dude.
It is so awesome. Like you just said, we all soft. We are garbage. And they are. They're not nearly as good as they were when Cat was there. And Julius Randle, they just dropped Julius Randle was like dropping a bomb in the middle of that team.
Cam was dropping Twitter videos of like Ant and Cat like best buddies, and now they really miss each other. And Ant shedding a tear. It sucks, man. Like you got 2 ownership groups that have ruined that squad. Just ruined. And they did it by bringing in the worst possible player that they could have brought in, Julius Randle. I don't know where, and it sucks because Randle probably has a spot in this league somewhere on an expansion team. I don't know. And it's bad for Anthony Edwards' fantasy value. Not that that's the big picture here, but Dante DiVincenzo, he's not a 35% shooter in this league. I mean, he's not. He's getting crushed by this. Everybody's getting crushed by this in Minnesota. And if it doesn't come together tonight in this game, then I would think that I don't know what the ability to retrade Julius Randle is, because I'm not a cap guy and I did not flag that to remember and how long he's going to be on this team. But if I'm Minnesota and I can trade him, whatever I can get, whatever I got to pay to get rid of him. And then getting Norm back will just sort of normalize the Clippers. Not a lot going on in fantasy leagues in this. They can trade Randle. Okay, yeah, trade him for whatever you can get. That's the advice. Boston at Chicago. Kristaps Porzingis back this early. Pretty shocking, right? Like I didn't think it was going to happen this early. So he's back. might play in this one. So I think he'll be kind of a game by game question mark. Even if we get an early sense for what's up with him, it feels like he could be out at any given time. So we'll just sort of watch that all season long. So he's back. I think that ups the intrigue for the reality front. But then on the Chicago side, Kobe White, questionable left wrist sprain. Lonzo Ball, as mentioned, is going to play. Pat Williams, left foot out. Jalen Smith, questionable because he's questionable every single game. Where are you at with Chicago and anything on Boston?
I need Kobe White to play. Al Horford's going to be sitting on my 30-deep bench, completely healthy today, while Miles Bridges is in there.
Ooh.
Ayo Dosunmu's been hot. Do you have any Porzingis regret? You wish you had some Porzingis? Because I don't. I'm not sad at all that I missed out.
My regret is a certain Latvian resident in our operation didn't suss this detail out somehow. That like the Latvians didn't like go to our guy and tell us, hey, he's going to be back like 3 months before people think he will be. Then maybe, because whoever in like, if you didn't have an IR slot and you were like, I'll do it, I'll draft him. We all laughed at that person. I think, collectively, like that person's not going to have a player play until February. And now they've got Porzingis and they can manage the back-to-back stuff and the off games and still have a very good player. And those times where he plays 3 games in a week, he's going to be a top 40, 50 guy. They'll just feed him. He'll be great. So I think that person, whoever that person in your league was, they get to laugh at us right now. And so there's a little regret, but it's mostly directed at a certain Latvian on our staff for not digging out that news. And I'm kidding. Of course, Andre's the best. But yeah, no, not much cooking in this game. I do want to see if Ayo Dosunmu can be consistent. And of course, watching Josh Giddey, like the deficiencies in the percentages and the lack of stats all the way across the board has killed his value. He's been a top 175 guy. He should be kind of a top 60 guy if things are going well. So at some point in time, that should tip a little bit more in his favor. So I'll be watching out for that. Let's move it ahead to Toronto at Miami. Grady Dick ruled out. Manuel quickly week to week. Ochai Agbaji at a moment when everybody's like, this guy's done. He's dead. I was clinging to him for dear life, thinking, man, I just need a good game so I don't get rid of you. 24 points, 6 rebounds, 1 steal, 1 block, 6 threes on 9 of 10 shooting in 28 minutes. So, hey, if he only makes half his shots there, that line gets pretty pedestrian pretty quick. So keep that in mind. But at least that buys him a little bit of life here with a window with Grady Dick out. And I think he's probably more answer than problem in Toronto. But he's got a lot of obstacles in his way. And then you had random sightings. These were kind of pre-Thanksgiving night lines. Jacoby Walter, 14 and 11 with 5 assists, 2 steals, and 2 threes in 28 minutes. Weird game, that game. On the Miami side, Jimmy Butler has been sort of throwing up red flags. He played through a back injury in the last one, and he was like zeros in the stats for like the first quarter or more that game, and he kind of got it going to where it wasn't a complete zero in that game. He also was like a plus whatever in a game that Miami won by 4 on the road. So just standing there on the floor and pushing through probably helped them get that win. So I don't want to be too harsh on Jimmy here. But what you got for either side, Toronto or Miami in this one?
Jacoby Walter's probably starting again for Grady Dick. Probably going to have a good game. I think Agbaji benefits from no Grady Dick out there. And then I'm looking for Jakob Poeltl bounce back because he was pretty bad in the last game. And he's been great all year. So I think he's going to have a bit of a bounce back. But you want to take a flyer tonight, Jacoby Walter, Tyrese Martin, a couple names to think about.
Yeah, it'll be fun too. It's like, can the pre-Thanksgiving night wonders, and there is a history here for pre-Thanksgiving night games to be weird. There to be some couple players like these two that come up out of nowhere and go off, and then we never hear from them again. So that's the typical response to going off on the pre-Thanksgiving night. But that said, why not? Why not again? and it would be fun if that happens when you have them on your roster. Let's go to Detroit and Indy. So we got Cade Cunningham didn't apparently participate in shoot around because we didn't hear about that. It's the left sacroiliac joint. Apparently that's sort of near the pelvis. Our crack medical research team has been feeding me intel on that. It's actually just Keston telling me things. Tobias Harris, questionable left hip impingement. As mentioned earlier, he did participate in shoot around. That's a good sign there. Isaiah Stewart was non-existent in the last one. That's a bummer because he was sort of getting some stability as a top 100 guy. Jalen Duren still not good, just top 170 on the season. He's got 1.2 blocks per game, 57% foul shooting. He's got deficiencies everywhere outside of rebounds and field goal percentage. So what are you thinking on the Detroit side, and what are you watching for?
Well, I'm glad Cade Cunningham is questionable because I was worried he was going to have an INJ next to his name and be out for an extended period. So it sounds like he truly is day to day, and he's going to be okay. So that's good. I was hoping Jaden Ivey was going to play a little bit better in his absence. Benedict Mathurin has kept it going, which I'm happy to see that. And then Hugh Jackson, I think you got to keep an eye on that guy. He's been playing a lot, and he's another no name that sort of popped up out of nowhere that's starting to produce a little bit.
He looks pretty spry. I haven't really gotten a good feel for his game overall, but he looks pretty spry. And that caught my eye for sure. Well, I'll be watching the Tyrese Halliburton stuff. I'm hoping somebody that listens to this show was able to time the buy low. We kind of marked it out there. We said, look, there's 4 home games, and after the first one, if he's going off, that's going to be the kind of the last time that you can get in there with that buy low. Well, he went off a second time, and now he's got 2 more to go. The key question will be in that first road game, which has been giving him the trouble this year. Does it carry on? Does it continue through for Tyrese Halliburton? And then what folks are doing with Benedict Mathurin, I think that's, you got Aaron Nesmith and Andrew Nembhard coming back soon. So that question of what to do is right upon GM's laps right now. I'd probably sell high, but I don't know if you'll get enough there to make it worth parting with one of the more exciting young players in the league who could just see his way through this mess. But make no mistake, when those 2 guys come back, it's going to get tight in that rotation. I think that's all I got on that game. So let's move it on to
Kobe White participated in shoot around, so it sounds like he's going to play. Thank God.
Nice. Kobe White's been good this year, and not a lot. I mean, he was falling in drafts to like 90. And he's got a top 50 season, and it's not even yet kind of Kobe White time, if you will. It will be Kobe White time later on in the season if something happens to Zach LaVine. Okay, let's get to Sac at Portland. So Sac's an interesting case right now. You got DeMar DeRozan, who's been out with a back issue. I think they're going to find their rhythm on offense while this happens, and then they'll have to deal with what happens when he comes back. But Jay Crowder jumps in, and they were kind of talking about Jay Crowder, all during the offseason. So this has been percolating for them. Maybe they just didn't have minutes for him. Well, Trey Lyles is out. He hasn't looked good at all this season. Trey Lyles will be out for a few weeks, and Jay Crowder comes in. Now, Jay Crowder didn't look great or anything, but he did get a perfect matchup. I mean, if you're going to jump back into the NBA and do something with your minutes and make some noise, well, he's kind of custom built to defend Julius Randle. So he was able to just go in there, throw his weight around, take advantage of some bad Minnesota play, and get some not great numbers. He had 8 points, 4 boards, 2 threes, 1 steal, 27 minutes. That's probably what you should expect for him going forward. The hope for Kings fans is that he doesn't try to take too many shots, but he does look like he's not going to do that, at least so far. So it's kind of just a minute swap there. I think he'll just take the Trey Lyles minutes. Maybe they'll start him and refashion the rotation around that concept, but I don't think that there's a whole lot of like minutes being lost by key guys that we're watching, like say Malik Monk, for example. He went off in the last one, nearly 30, 10 and 10 in that game. Keon Ellis, top 160 on the year, 21.7 MPG. And with Keon, just keep in mind that last season, at the end of last season, he was getting you over 4 cash counters, which are steals, blocks, and threes per game. So Keon's a big topic. Watching to see if he can just sort of keep that momentum going. And then Keegan, I wanted to spend a quick second on Keegan because he's missing wide open 3-pointers. He's 28% on the year from deep. He's a great shooter. The buy low here is just like stunningly obvious. And I think people will not want to do it because it just doesn't look great right now. But he will not be hitting that low. He will have a moment where he stops missing these wide open 3-pointers. And he will probably have a stretch where he shoots like 50, 55% from 3. And he does it over like a 2 to 3 week span and then just starts to level out after that. So I think Keegan Murray is a really highly recommended buy low right now. On the Portland side, DeAndre Ayton is back. Robert Williams is doubtful with a concussion. Jeremy Grant's doubtful with a knee issue. And of course, Donovan Clingan out a few weeks. What on the Portland or Sacramento side are you watching out for, Doc?
I'm still waiting for your boy Keon Ellis to kind of break out. I mean, he's due to have a breakout game. I think if you're playing DFS, De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis should both go crazy tonight without DeRozan in the way. Now I want to see if Shadon Sharp can keep on. He's been pretty fun. I'd like to see him shoot better than 5 of 16 one time.
But he's making those free throws. They're weird over there in Portland, and Denny Avdia is kind of taking a little bit of charge of the situation over there, so we'll keep an eye on him. DeAndre Ayton probably feels a little bit of the pressure of the guys now behind him, where you got Robert Williams coming back and putting up numbers, and the team probably thinking, hey, we should probably use this guy, not you. So DeAndre, I noticed his finger got better real quick, and he's kind of locked and loaded, ready to go here for the next couple of weeks. Probably a good sell high moment. So lots of interesting and weird stuff going on in Portland. Now, the last game for today, Oklahoma City at LA. Not too much going on here. Some stuff on the LA side of the line and with Dalton Connect, but on the OKC side, just to kind of reframe or set the table here, we got Isaiah Hartenstein slid a little bit. Now he's got 3 games just at top 80 value. So it's a really early assessment for him. But if you're tracking how good he's doing, that's where he's at. And then Lou Dort was a little light in the last one. He still has top 90 on the season. And that's in 9 cat formats where he doesn't turn the ball over, just 0.7 per game. So that valuation isn't as good in 8 cat formats. But on the LA side, you got Dalton Connect. I'm just wondering if he's going to keep eating into Austin Reeves value. I've got a ton of Reeves everywhere. So that's something I'm personally watching for. I'll actually spin it over to you. What are you doing with the Dalton Connect stuff? Because he's pretty up and down. Like this last week hasn't been that great. The week before was awesome. And he does look like a good fit for that squad. You still rolling with him hard?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the only reason he looks like crap this week is because JJ benched him that one game and started freaking Cam Reddish in front of him for no reason. And, everybody freaked out. Everybody on Twitter was just lighting JJ Redick up. And next thing you know, Dalton's back out there from the next game in the starting lineup. So he's not going to be as good as he was. I mean, that one game he had was just thick. It was historical. We're not going to see that. We're not going to see that every night. But he's one of the best shooters in the entire NBA. And as long as he's starting for the Lakers, he's going to be good. And he is going to cut into Austin Reeves a little bit and vice versa. But on the Oklahoma City side, I'm intrigued by Isaiah Joe being in the starting lineup. Like strong DFS option, possibly cheap. And then Jalen Williams. There's no red letters by his name. He's good to go. He's off the injury report. That was terrifying for me.
Yeah. And I mean, those like little eye injuries that, come out of nowhere and knock a guy out like Scotty Barnes. It's such a bummer because you're just like, that's so random. There's nothing not random about that. And so the Reeves stuff, I think this is a big buy low moment for Reeves because he's not going to shoot the way that he's been shooting lately. The shooting's been so bad lately. And I think it's just a function of all of these moving parts. And who knows if JJ Redick's even making that call? I mean, Cam Reddish, clutch, like, I don't know. Maybe they just wanted to see what they had in him one last time this season before they truly turn the page. maybe they're a little concerned that Reeves and Connect, there's not enough defensive strength with the pairing to, hold up in the starting unit. I don't buy that, but maybe that's the thought process there. But Reeves there's a lot of different ways that he can be a lot better than he has been, which has been about a top 90 guy this season. He can shoot better. Somebody in front of him can get hurt and the usage can start to flow his direction. If Connect goes back to the bench for whatever reason, that can help him out. I think there's a lot of different things that for Reeves, he can get back up into a top 40, 50 posture real quick. So I love this moment as a buy low for him. Small signs of life for D'Angelo Russell. Rui, deep league guy as a starter. And even his starting position is kind of seemingly up for grabs. Let's get to the Saturday games. Philly, Joel Embiid has been ruled out, as mentioned at the top of the show. Paul George questionable, Caleb Martin questionable, Kyle Lowry out. You probably didn't know that Tyrese Maxey has been the top fantasy play over his last 3 games, like the top fantasy play in all of 9Cat. That was a little bit surprising for me. And then Jared McCain in the same span, just top 200 with points and threes in a good spot, but everything else in a bad spot. It's just a 3-game sample. But what are we doing with Jared McCain here? Like, how do we think he's going to finish this whole thing out? Is he going to be top 75, top 40 as he was there for about 2 weeks? Or is he going to be top 100 or 125? Where do you throw the dart?
It depends on if Philly ever gets healthy or not. If they stay banged up, I'm sticking with Jared McCain. But yeah, he's not playing nearly as well as he did. I was hoping he could keep it going. Him and Maxey could coexist together. Remains to be seen if that's really the case or not. I'm a little more down on him than I was last week. I think he should be able to finish top 100.
Yeah, I think that's probably at least a 2/3 chance. That's a healthy chance. I mean, that's the only thing healthy in Philly. I mean, the Joel Embiid stuff it's bad. It's just bad. So if that happens, and I think that takes so much statistical output out of the equation. So that alone, I think, would tick him up over top 100. But even if Joel Embiid plays, I think McCain's got a good shot at top 100. But it just goes to show you that if you could catch lightning in a bottle and then you could quickly turn it around and pivot and try to get maybe a top 75 value in that case, you might have been better off. But it's dicey business, and trading on the cutting edge it's just dicey business. Let's get out of this game here and let's get into Washington at Milwaukee. So Washington, it was just starting to look like Kyle Kuzma was going to get a shot to be the lead scorer with Jordan Poole out, but that's flipped. Jordan Poole's back in. Kyle Kuzma is now doubtful with a rib injury. Kyle Kuzma.
He's supposed to miss Saturday and Tuesday.
Yeah, I just don't. Something's not right. If it was injury from the get-go, and that was why he didn't look like he was in shape, then it's injury. It's not that he just didn't show up in shape. But when the minute I saw him shooting the ball, it was like, I don't think he's going to be anything this year. So we'll see how that plays out. Carrington, Alexander Sarr, all of a sudden these guys are struggling. And yeah, you can kind of point to Malcolm Brogdon. You can point to Kyle Kuzma coming back. Carrington on the season, top 170, 40.9% from the field, 28.4 minutes per game. Now that's a 9-cat number, so that's hurt a little bit by turnovers. But that's if you're looking to see him play more than 28.4 minutes per game, you start to worry about the metrics a little bit. I think that's why I didn't jump on Carrington during draft season aggressively. Like, I got him in a couple places, but how are you viewing Carrington? Is this something where you just try to hang on and hope that Brogdon finds his way out of the equation, and then maybe just none of this efficiency stuff really matters because he just goes wild for like a half season?
I don't understand why Brogdon's playing so many minutes and starting over Bob Carrington. That team's 2-15. We know what Malcolm Brogdon does, and what he generally does is get hurt. So
Is it a tanking move? Like that they know they can't win with Malcolm Brogdon?
I mean, they know they can't win with Bub Carrington even more. Like Brogdon gives them a better chance of winning, I think. I don't understand it.
Maybe
I
he
wish
does.
I wish Carrington was playing. I'd hang in there with him, as long as you can. But if you can't do it anymore, I get it because Brogdon's playing 30 minutes and Carrington's playing like 15. So it's tough. But by the end of the season, Carrington's going to be playing a lot of minutes because this team they look like the top contender for Cooper Flag right now.
There's certainly, I mean, there's a couple teams like Brooklyn and Portland that have sort of like worked their way out of the equation. So there weren't that many teams in it to begin with. Utah will give them a run for the money, but
so Alex Sarr, you mentioned that he's been struggling, but I haven't looked at the numbers, but in my memory,
I was just about to ask you about him.
My recent memory tells me he's been going nuts. He's been playing great.
Well, it's the percentages. It's 38.1 from the field, 65 from the foul line. So that's the dropping him down to top 140. 0.8 steals, 1.9 blocks, and 1.1 triples in just 26 minutes per game. It's a lot of numbers pointing in the wrong direction there. Like, are you of the mind that you just don't care about the percentages in this kind of a situation because the situation's kind of good and you just keep rolling with it and kind of buy into it a little bit? Or is it the rookie wall?
He's young. He's young. He's learning. He's going to get better. I'm not too concerned about it. I'm more worried about his counting stats at this point. So I'm cool with Alex Sarr. Let's look at his game log real quick. If I can have a moment. I know we're on a time crunch here, but his last 3 games, let's just look at that. Here we go. 17 points, 20 points, 13 points. His last 4 games, 9 boards, 14 boards, 7 boards, 5 boards, a steal in 3 straight games, a block in 4 straight games. Shooting it better. His last 3 games, 7 of 15, 7 of 11, 5 of 12. Like if he can do that all the time, he's good to go. That's about 50%. And the free throws, we know those are going to suck. Like that's just built in. There's certain players where you draft, they're not going to be able to shoot free throws. So the trend, he's trending up in my mind. He's playing better. And I just hope he can keep it going, build on it.
I'm glad we stopped a little bit on that one because that one's got a lot of, like I said, numbers moving in opposite directions. And if you can kind of buy the dip here, because he was rolling top 100 for a lot of the season. I think people slotted him into their minds as a guy that was top 100 with upward trajectory, upward potential. So he was kind of like, getting a little bit of, hey, yeah, good job drafting that guy. You got yourself a nice little rookie asset going the right direction. And then when the bottom starts to fall out a little bit in terms of the ranking, people get nervous and they don't know what to do with something like that. And Washington being what it is, being kind of all over the board, it just feels messy. And I think what you did, Steve, is you just sort of shored that up for folks to kind of say, hey, hold on here. And things kind of are baked into the equation. And he does have a chance to get better. And by the way, the counting stats are great. And by the way, he does have a chance to play more minutes per game down the stretch if they want to kind of let the throttle loose and go to 30, 32 minutes a game for him as they get into the true tank contest. Some quick notes there. Keyshawn George has been sliding a little bit. I think that's a function of both Brogdon and Kyle Kuzma coming back. He's now at just top 225 with 27 minutes per game and falling. On the other side for this Milwaukee team, it's Brook Lopez. Time to gush about him. Top 30 and 9-cat. Bobby Portis just top 190. And 9-cat Taurean Prince has fallen to top 160. And then, of course, Giannis is questionable with the left knee. So buried the lead a little bit there. But what you got on Milwaukee, if anything, Doc?
Brolo got off to a really slow start. And I'm sure he had people doubting whether he was going to be good this year or not. But he's turned that all around. He looks pretty great. And then Giannis, I don't like this Giannis knee thing.
Never like the Giannis knee thing. This is Fantasy NBA Today, presented by Bet Online. We are just about halfway through, or almost all the way through Saturday's games, and we'll talk about some Sunday action, some teams we haven't talked about yet. We got Golden State at Phoenix. So Phoenix just lost on the other side of Thanksgiving to Brooklyn at home. So they'll probably be a little bit motivated after going home and eating some Thanksgiving dinner. You got Steph Curry probable in this game. It looks like prescribed rest for that last absence. It sounds like they looked at the calendar, planned that thing out, and decided they just wanted to get him a game off in this stretch. You got Buddy Hield and Andrew Wiggins are both top 90 on the season. Buddy Hield's been possibly dropped in a lot of formats. I wouldn't have recommended that, but that could have happened because he's been kind of just outside the top 200 after a little decent game in the last one. He had 17 points, 5 threes, 3 rebounds and a steal in 23 minutes, all on 5 of 8 shooting from deep. So all of his shots were threes in that game. Andrew Wiggins has been more consistent as a top 90 guy. And then the rest of the squad. I mean, you got Brandon Pajemski's outside of the top 250 on the season. Trace Jackson Davis, top 250 on the season, just 17 minutes per game. So it's a really kind of crappy fantasy squad, the Warriors.
It's all because of Steve Kerr, dude. I mean, TJD played 4 minutes last game. Steve Kerr played. He's playing. Who was that guy? He was playing Andre Patrick. What was the guy's name? He looks.
I want to get this before Andre does.
He looks like my college roommate, Patrick.
I should know this. I've heard stories.
Can anyone help me with this? Spencer. There it is.
Patrick Spencer.
The Spencer brothers. Like Patrick Spencer's out there playing 15 minutes the other night.
6 points, 4 boards, 3 assists for that Patrick Spencer.
Ever heard of this dude? He doesn't even look like a basketball player. Steve Kerr is driving me nuts. And yes, the Warriors are 12-6 or whatever, but it is so hideous what is happening, especially in fantasy. Like the only fantasy players I like in Golden State are Andrew Wiggins, of all people, and Steph Curry. The rest of it is just, ugh.
It's bad, but I still got to buy low or pick up order on Buddy Hield. It's just, I think it's got to be, this is the bottom, and the bottom's not that bad. It's like top 175 now over this bad stretch for Buddy Hield. So I'll just keep leaning into that buy low, and we'll see if I have to eat my words on that or not, but I kind of don't think I will. On the other side for Phoenix, you got Bradley Beal, questionable with an ankle issue, pardon me, that caused him to leave last game. And then Grayson Allen got steals and blocks, everybody. I know I always make Phoenix the Grayson Allen hour, and you guys are probably like, what the hell? Please stop. But I want to see that. And he's not a huge steals and blocks guy, but it just, to me, it signals activity. And activity, I think, is good for him. It was kind of a piece of what he did well last season. Now, he's not that far behind last season's pace in steals and blocks. He just needs to get the minutes, and he needs to stop shooting 10% behind last year's numbers in each of the shooting categories. I think this is a question of, I think we can all agree he's not going to shoot at his current numbers. It's how far will the regression back towards last year's numbers, how far will that take him? Well, last year it took him to top 40 land. So like if he makes it halfway, is he a top 100 guy? I would take that at this point in time, given the kind of ugly start here. But there's more potential there, and especially if guys like Bradley Beal start falling by the wayside. So that's the only thing I got in the Phoenix game. Unless you got something else, Doc, feel free to interrupt me. I'm going to move us to Dallas at Utah. Dallas, Luka getting close. I don't think this is the game on Sunday, or probably Saturday, that he's going to be coming back for. I don't think they're going to rush him back for Utah. Maybe they will, but I don't think they will. Gafford, questionable with an illness. Klay Thompson, questionable with the left foot issue. Now, all the Dallas big men have been early round values over the last week or so. So that's just been fun to know. John Collins on the other side, top 25 guy, now showing up with a left knee contusion on the injury report. So that takes a little bit of the steam out of the John Collins movement, which has been great. And I think we've got Collins in a lot of spots. So that's been a fun little found money type of a deal. We knew that there was something in there, but it was so long ago that he was actually this good that it's really hard to hang your hat on that and say, yeah, he's going to do it. Well, he's doing it. Lauri Markkanen listed out as personal in the last one. So I don't know how to read this thing. Like, he was practically carried off the floor. Then he gets listed out for personal. Like, is he coming back for this game? I don't know. And then you had a Thanksgiving special, Micah Potter, 9 points, 16 rebounds, 3 triples, 3 assists, 1 block in 28 minutes in that game. You going to go back to the well for Potter?
I picked Potter up in a couple leagues, and Lauri Markkanen carried off the court. He ain't playing in this game. There's no way. Filipowski.
Personal designation. That's so weird. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I think it was a combination personal and knee.
Right.
Filipowski, we haven't seen him in a while. John Collins, banged up. Yeah, Lauri Markkanen had a kid. So that was why the personal designation. So you add in the knee and the kid, he ain't playing.
Take this game off, sir.
Filipowski, probably not playing. We haven't seen him in a while. John Collins, banged up. Bryce Sensabaugh. I like Sensabaugh. I'll ride with him when these guys are hurt. But sign me up for Micah Potter tomorrow night. I'm going all in on him.
Why not? It's Utah, and I don't think they care at all. I think they're the leader in the tank race. I think they see Cooper Flag, and they're ready to go all in Utah.
They've got 4 wins, dude. They're 50% behind the Wizards.
It's an intriguing race. I'm actually, you know what? I don't care. I want to see these teams fall over themselves tanking. I don't think it's smart. I don't think it's a good thing, for them. But I do kind of. I'm digging on, like, will Danny Ainge outsmart whoever's handling it in Washington? It's the owner, Ted Leonsis. Like, who will outsmart the other to get Cooper Flag, or 1 in 4 chance at Cooper Flag? Let's look at the Sunday games. So OKC at Houston, that's a spicy matchup. I can't wait to watch that one. Houston's got that look about them. That whole Ime Udoka, Dylan Brooks, Fred VanVleet. I was definitely kind of laughing, like, why would you pay for those guys and bring them in? And then boom, all of a sudden they have formed a nasty team, and they've got enough defense on the floor to let Alperen Şengün just sort of do his thing offensively. And then when he brings his physical brand of ball on the offensive side, it really, the combo of all of this, I think Houston's got a lot cooking for them. I think they're going to be a handful in the playoffs, as I tweeted on all the socials yesterday. By the way, follow us all on Blue Sky. There's a lot going on. What are you watching for? And then I'll get into some of my stuff.
I love Amen Thompson. I was glad to see Tari Eason bounce back last game. Alperen Şengün has been phenomenal. 3 steals, 3 blocks, big lines. He's got that dog in him. He looks like a warrior out there.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's kind of nasty. And dude, the Houston Rockets are 1 game behind the Oklahoma City Thunder and sitting in 2nd place in the West. Like, it's unbelievable. Ime Udoka, there's a reason people want that guy to coach their team.
And it's the only one reason to not have him coach the team is the reason why Boston got rid of him, apparently. Thompson's been a top 15 guy over the last 4 games. And the stat line, 16 and 10, 2 assists, 2.8 steals, 2.0 blocks, 63 from the field, and 76.5 from the foul line. So he's kind of, that's not great because he's shooting a bunch from the foul line, but even that's going well. Thompson's a do not drop, guys. If there is another dip, and there might not be another dip here. I had him finishing inside the top 50 this season, thereabouts. I got to actually look that up. It's been a while since I've looked at my own ranks. He's just next to Eason. Eason had a slow week, and it was top 100. A slow week. These guys are fantasy gold. And then Jalen Green had a good night, but I think there's too much going on elsewhere.
He had a great night.
Yeah.
He had a great night.
He has that in it. They're going to trade that guy. It's a fun little luxury for them to have him, like, oh, hey, Jalen, go off once every 5 games, and we'll be fine without you in the other 4. Jabari Smith, anything to free him up, I think will be good for business there, because when you have a center like Şengün, you need another big man to pair next to him who can shoot the 3 and has length to play the vertical game. Well, that's Jabari Smith, and he's just not doing much. But he's been a top 80 guy over the last week or so. And that's been a nice little comeback for him because he was down at 125, 150 with some very iffy lines. And you're getting a lot of drop Jabari Smith questions going on. And then Fred VanVleet also sliding over the last 4 games. So those are the guys that are kind of losing as the youngsters are getting in there and kicking ass. On the Sunday slate, we got 2 more games to drop into, 1 team apiece. We got the Spurs at Sac. And so for the Spurs, interestingly, Harrison Barnes is sitting on a top 50 week and a player of the week in the Western Conference, I believe. When I read that, I didn't know if it was true. But was it a nomination?
Barnes won player of the week?
Was he a nominee or was he the actual winner? I don't know. I was a fever dream maybe that I had, but he's been top 50 this last week. Are you going to buy into that at all? He won it. Andre says he won it. I was not hallucinating, folks. That's actually a thing that happened in the NBA this week.
Harry B,
baby. Are you going to sell all of your stock elsewhere and buy all the Harry B you can?
No, that's ridiculous.
Like, how did that happen? He's the senator for a reason, folks. Wow. That's amazing. Julian Champagny, also top 50 week. So the good times keep rolling there. Just keep rolling that out there, folks. Chris Paul, top 50. Stephen Castle, top 140. Just because of the crooked shooting numbers. That's it. That's an interesting question. Do you think he can get that figured out? And yeah, Wemby being out's a big deal here, guys. For a lot of that week.
He's kind of a chucker. But I like Stephon Castle, man. I love him, actually. So I'm okay. I don't really care how well he shoots.
I could see something happen in a Chris Paul. And if anything happens with his team at large and they decide they're not going for the playoffs, there's a future for Stephen Castle playing 30, probably on the dot minutes per game, but getting all the license in the world other than when Wemby's on the floor to do whatever the hell he wants and going 25, 5-5, down the stretch, March and April. And then the percentages might not be good, but maybe you just don't care. And that might actually be a ton of fun for folks. Sohan may be getting close to a return, so that might scramble the board up a little bit, but I kind of think that they don't care, that the current guys that are valuable in fantasy leagues, Harrison Barnes notwithstanding, I don't think Harry Barnes can survive a Sohan return, but I think everybody's sort of in their spot, and Sohan's just going to come back in, fit his 25 minutes in, and that'll be that. Let's get to the last game on the list, and it's really a simple squad. It's the Denver Nuggets. Aaron Gordon back soonish. I think the team returns to normalcy at that time. Nikola Jokic is the top fantasy play by a large margin. What else we got in Denver?
Jamal Murray, I guess. Can he stay healthy this year? Can he not let his fantasy owners down for once? Can he overcome the Olympics and last year's playoffs? So far, he's doing it. Michael Porter Jr. has quietly been very solid. Christian Brown, pleasant surprise. Julian Strawther, afterthought.
I love it. That's actually going to wrap us up here. But I wanted to take a quick moment and thank all of you guys. We're very grateful for your guys' watches, your listens, all the support that you guys have given us through the years. I hope you guys enjoy this Thanksgiving break with your families and have a great time. We're going to come back tomorrow. We're going to do a streamers and a week ahead show. Get you guys all prepped up for the upcoming week. There's a lot of things going on in fantasy leagues right now. This time of the year is great. There's all sorts of things happening, just in everybody's personal lives with the holidays and such, but the fantasy season just rages on through this time, and we all kind of go through it together. And I am extremely grateful for that experience. Thank you guys. This has been Fantasy NBA Today, presented by Bet Online, a sports ethos presentation. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, be well.